I wanted to talk about a recent article in the Canadian Mortgage Trends, which is a media outlet for mortgage brokers and providing mortgage content to Canadians in general. It's a fantastic site. So they did a recent interview and discussion based around Benjamin Tall, who's the chief economist for CIBC and arguably one of the smartest economists in Canada. So he talks about a per capita recession. Bad news, Canada is in a recession. So it's about time the media is actually covering this, because I've been saying it for months, as well as many of my other colleagues, that we've been in a recession for a while, but with falsely inflated numbers from the government, surrounding around the reckless levels of immigration, it indicates we're not in a recession. So, I mean, the level of uncertainty is something we've not seen since the early days of COVID, which I strongly agree with. Right now, people are scared shitless. I don't know what's going to happen with these tariffs. Is it going to crash the economy, or is it going to have very little of effect? So his wording, we're in a recession, sort of. We're not in a technical recession. In my predictions video, I articulated that I felt that's going to happen Q3 of this year. Again, that's just a guess, and these people are way smarter than me, but sometimes I'm right. So he talks about being in a per capita GDP decline of 20% for 5 quarters. Now, you generally need 2 quarters of negative growth, and we've been there for 5. 2 quarters of negative growth indicates a recession. But they're not calling it a technical recession, because when you have 1.2 million people that enter the country over the past couple of years, this falsely inflates GDP. So, I mean, the wording of he stated is absolutely crazy, and this has also been a key driver in housing shortage. It's taking up rentals, which is why rental rates went through the frickin' roof for the past few years, as well as it does take up, potential properties to be purchased. So, yeah, so that's a big thing. He talks about Toronto. He thinks Toronto's going to bounce back. However, the fact that 81% of Toronto's investors, 81%, are currently losing money. That is not sustainable. People do not want to be landlords, specifically in Toronto. I mean, in BC, it doesn't make sense either in most cases, but it's really bad in Toronto. Look at other things. He seems to think investment capital is coming, based on investors going into GICs. I don't agree with this. I personally think that capital is flowing crazy out of Canada. People have very little interest due to the sheer fact of almost no opportunity to invest in Canada. If you can actually afford a principal residence, great, do that. But buying rental properties, and depending on certain pre-sales, you can't flip, you can't do Airbnb. Capital gains is insane. I actually disagree with this. I do not think capital is coming into the country. I think it's going to continue to go out. He's downplaying renewal fears. And my argument behind this is, yeah, for some people, they don't give a shit if their property goes up, the mortgage goes up 500 or 1,000 because they can afford it. I mean, those people probably have larger mortgage numbers, but there are some families that cannot handle a difference of $400 to $500 when their mortgage comes up for renew. They simply can't. They can't do it. And for those people, they're in trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. Yeah, so, I mean, be careful what you downplay there. He says forget about inflation, but, I mean, who knows how that's going to go. There's a lot of factors that could indicate which direction this goes, and it's really hard to see where this is going to go. He quickly talks about the Trump effect and, how the U.S. policy is going to impact Canadian mortgage rates. Again, really hard to say. If we have to stimulate the economy, we're going to drop rates. However, if we have high inflation, which is caused by counter tariffs, we're going to have to increase rates. So really hard to see where things are going to go. Anyways, all in all, this is a good read. I'll put a link to it. I do think it's really good, but I'm just happy the media is finally stating that we're in a frickin' recession, and we have been for a while. Feels good to be right once in a while. Have a nice day.